president, still acting unpresidential. I'm in the Bronx with the evil in my residential. It was all emojis, it was never mental. The silver spoon is under fire, and the pressure vented. The times that we living in unprecedented.
Welcome to the Build and Destroy podcast, where we build on what's to come and we destroy what's done. We join here today with our regular cohorts, our brother Blue Pill, brother Tyreek Bay, and brother Red Pill, and we got something special for y'all today. The internationally known, worldwide accepted, legendary 19 Keys in the building with us. A great thought leader, a forward thinker, an astrofuturist. Yeah, that's what he is. And much more, man. If I could just go on to give my thoughts on him, we'd probably be here all day.
Indeed.
He also joined with the legendary Steve Jones, host of the Man to Man podcast.
Legend.
They're a team. Every time I see 19, I see Steve. So, I know that, teamwork make the dream work.
That's right.
So, yeah, we got a beautiful show for y'all today.
Yes, sir.
So let's get into it. Blue, what's happening, baby?
We here. We back like we never left. A very poignant, powerful episode. That we have for the audience. And I'm gonna waste no time with our good brother 19 Keys and our good brother Steve.
Man.
You just said earlier or just now you set it up and you said teamwork makes the dream work. This brother has personified, especially in this community, bringing about teamwork, bringing about togetherness, bringing about, unity, collaboration over competitiveness, if you will. I want to ask you foundationally, where did you get that concept? Because that's something that we don't often see in not just the microcosm of what we call the conscious community, but the macrocosm of what we call the quote-unquote black community. They said that the last hurdle that we have yet to clear is unity. Mm-hmm. One of the hardest things. Not only are you a proponent for companionship and working together in terms of a team effort, but also family business. So I wanted to ask you, where did you get this concept, and what has made you hold on to it, even weathering and going through all of the things that you went through?
That's a good question. What we do today, it's not really who we are, right? Who we are is like we get these, like our present day consciousness of who we think we are, right? And how we make decisions today is different than, right, the things that we do, because those are our preconditions, right? How we were pre-programmed when we was younger in our environment. And that's good and bad, which is why you can make a decision that go against self, right? Because you're trying to catch up to who you are today, and you have to go back from your preconditions and understand your own patterns. And I was preconditioned at an early age to see black men of power and stature work together. Right? I seen my pops work together with other black men that were of equal tenure to him. You know what I'm saying? These is gangsters, these is killers, these is businessmen. And I didn't see them fight each other. I seen them saying, okay, this is my role, I'm captain. You general, you lieutenant, you business general over here, you do this. So I believe, like, thinking about it now, because I've been going through a lot of, like, therapy cycles of, like, just understanding my preconditions, right? And I believe that probably was the most impactful. And that's probably the first time I actually said it like that and thought of it like that. But I think it was really my father working together with his team of brothers, Baz, Nadar, Mustafa. I just seen how all of them had a different role, but they was playing into a larger goal.
Yeah, I was about to ask, what were they incentivized by? What was their bigger why that allowed them to keep that glue in the midst of, the conditions that we are going through, in the environments that we come from, a lot of snaking, backstabbing, shortcutting and things of that nature goes on. So what was the why that superseded and overshadowed all of that, do you think?
Let me cut this off. I'm just giving them a little preview. Growing up, And it was in an organization, right? So you got this Black Muslim organization. At the time, it was the bakery in Oakland, California.
Mm-hmm.
And these brothers came together, under the guise of, essential leadership and the fellowship of Black men working together and transforming. And you have the teachers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that's the glue. Right. And then you have the organization, that's the fraternity. Right, and the mission is the overarching mission of taking back America. You know what I'm saying? And I think that none of these men wanted to be the head. Mm-hmm. I think all of them wanted to benefit the organization versus I want to take his place.
Right.
I never got that energy from them. Right. So I think that probably that's a unique foundation because thinking about those brothers, I think that everybody was in such a unique position that they was carrying that nobody wanted to take another person's position. Like, you do your position so well, right. I just respect you for doing it. Now, the way I do my position, respect me for doing it. And I think that they all had this mutual level of respect. Plus, you had the foundation of the FOI classes of checking each other. Yeah, right. That was the era of men to check each other. Absolutely. Whether we fighting, whether we scrapping, whether we shooting at Absolutely. Each other. Right. Like, it was like, If disrespect happened, the organization and the checked protocols of the organization checked you. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's bigger than the program. Right. Right. And so once you don't have that code and those protocols, then individual ego can say, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that. And the protocol don't give a damn about your ego. Right. You know what I mean? Protocol says that I'm in this position, whether you my brother or not, I have to do this to you for doing this. Right. And so I believe that when you got systems and protocols and oaths, that creates the check and balance system versus let's just check our egos and figure out how to work together. No, it has to be systems in place that check the egos for you right. so y'all can continue to work together.
And you I'm glad you said that because, with the world climate today, everybody been talking about the crash of the dollar, the fall of America. And, I'm just letting people know, do you know what that'll look like? Do you understand that those principles that you spoke of aren't in place today, from a U.S. perspective? Right. So now you're gonna have war in the streets. You're gonna have a lot of little gangs killing off each other, and then within those gangs, if I have a compound and I got chickens and I got vegetation and I got ammunition and I got my own land, I'm going to have to watch who I let in because somebody may try to take me out so they can take over because those principles that you just spoke of aren't in place. So I'm glad you brought that you brought that to the spectrum so that people can know that this is what we need to start doing in order to start organizing and preparing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, just we was talking about the fall of America since I was a child. But I used to always think like because we'd pray for the fall. We'd pray for all these things.
Come on, man.
What you gonna do when it falls?
Come on, that's all I've been saying.
Think wow. You heavy on the destruction, but what about the construction?
Come on, man.
We already broke, so I'm trying to understand how things gonna get better.
Come on, man.
From everything falling. That was like my internal thought process. I used to just sit here. Yeah. These brothers would be praying for rain, sleet, hail, snow. I want everything to go. I'm like,
then what?
Well, what we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like, if the mothership come and drop the bomb, and we go be there? Do we got another spot? Do we got a plan? Right. So my whole thing was always not to just prepare for the fall of America, but the rise, the reconstruction period. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Somebody got to build it.
Absolutely. So when they go destroy countries and when they go to war with other countries, what America do afterwards? They
rebuild it. Right.
So absolutely.
So that perspective and that observation that you made pretty much signals to me your direction, whereas I see you with EYL, and these brothers are not anarchists, as much as they are optimists, and they don't seem to necessarily buy into the concept of the American dream as it pertains to the political system, you know what I'm saying, or the machinations per se, but more so, saying if economics works the way it's supposed to work, like A, B, and C, you know what I'm saying, this is what it should look like, this is how it should look, and this is how we should find ourselves participating. So can you even speak on that? Because once again, people that come from consciousness, for the most part, are dystopian in their outlook for our future, when it comes to America, because they understand that something has to be destroyed first to be rebuilt. But I witnessed that you brothers are actually rebuilding before the destruction takes place, by way of education, by way of inspiration, by way of demonstration. You know what I'm saying? These things are needed and necessary because there's children watching that are actually like, oh, let me learn about stock tips. And this is a universal language more so than it is one that's just mitigated, to these shores of the U.S. because you brothers have taken this campaign globally. You know what I'm saying? So how do you force a concept of revolution at the same time of being in company with people who, who may not necessarily be calling for the same level of change?
I think our concept of revolution is directly connected to our experiences of trauma, right? When we think about what a revolutionary is, we automatically know that a revolutionary has to go through trauma and almost have a traumatic end as well in order to be validated. Right? That's our tale of the revolutionary. It's not even the hero's tale, right?
A marker.
It's a martyr's tale. We don't have a hero's tale in our culture. We don't tell stories of who went and who rose and who won. Right. Those stories are not told. You go to different parts of the world, they tell stories of winners. They tell stories that this person went against the system and they triumphed. Right? And so this is why we don't see triumph as revolution. Right? Because we think that it has to be pearl, it has to be martyrism, it has to be, right, like how Huey P. Newton described it, revolutionary suicide. To die fighting in opposition of oppression. Right? But what about to win in opposition of oppression? At some point in time, one generation has to win in order for any of this to be worth it. Absolutely. It can't just be everybody dies and that's it.
Or it's going to be the same
It
cycle.
has to be a generation that sparks the seed of the winners and sparks the seed of the heroes. And so if we were to build our own, first of all, there's foundations and machinations within these systems that are brilliant. Right? So for us to try to say, okay, we don't like none of their stuff,
it's
and then we
ridiculous.
just go build our own. Where you gonna start from?
Come on, man.
If somebody give you, like they're giving you a master degree in how to run the world, how to build nations, how to build systems, political, economic systems, even spiritual systems. Right now, what you have to do is take the moral code, right, that is righteous, and then build systems based on your nature. Because they build systems that are customized to their nature. So what I see what EYL is doing and working with them, I believe that we have the same trajectory. It's just that we have not been nurturing this side of the revolution, right? The builders, right? We need the chemists, we need the engineers, we need the system creators, we need the teachers, we need the mathematicians, we need the architects, we need the creative thinkers. Like that part of the revolution has to be alive too, not just the who gonna go out in the street, who gonna shoot, who gonna be out on the front line. We've never seen a full-scale revolution where everybody gets to play their role. When you looked at the Black Panthers, they had a creative revolution. To me, the Black Panthers' greatest thing was the creative spark and the imaginative spark that they had in the people. They used art more than anything. Right? Emory Davis helped them take that revolution from, right, like if you think of the Joseph Stalins and the way that they use propaganda and art, they took the psychology and the art and they infused it in there. Right? Mao Zedong, what's his name? Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong, he did that. He took his ideas and he infused it into the events, into the arts, into the music, into the schools. Right? So you can't just have one aspect because we've seen what happens when you're heavy on polarized of one aspect.
That's right. You're going to be unbalanced.
Today we have more of, and what we don't even realize is we have more of a holistic movement going on because you have so many different working parts that are prominent today. And the problem is that everybody wants you to do what they're doing, right? And so they get mad at you like, but I'm doing this over here, you're not doing this. I ain't supposed to do that, that's why you doing it.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
like
your lane.
If you doing it, then let me do this, because otherwise this is not being occupied.
Absolutely.
Right? So, and that, like, it's Ramadan is over, so I choose violence again. Because people be wild and like, people take what you do and they want to control you. Everybody got this slave master mindset. Like they work like the devil. They be like, man, Keys done built this. Now I need Keys to do this for me. I need you to do that for me. I don't work for you. I never did. You wasn't there when I built nothing.
I work with you.
Right? My whole goal has always been what my goals was. But I understand the frustration because we've all been there in a place where, and I end on this note, when we talk about the gatekeepers of anything.
Right.
But the gatekeepers are as real as you allow them to be and as real as you need them. Right? So if you talk about how do you get to mainstream, and the person be like, all right, well, what is the mainstream? Well, if you go to a city and say, okay, what's the mainstream flow that gets all the water to each sink so everybody can drink? That's the mainstream. That's the main. So somebody can sprinkle the fluoride in there, or somebody can sprinkle the sea moss in there. You know what I'm saying? Right? So, but that mainstream is going to have gatekeepers depending on how it's built. So you have these gatekeepers that say, well, no, we're not just letting anybody because we don't know what you go put in the mainstream. So the mainstream is saying what gets out to the public, what's the biggest one. Then you got these underground puddles and lakes and rivers that get to a certain different people. And those considered to be the underground, right? Pools of thought, right? So instead, they say, okay, well, how do we take these pools of thought and how do we put it in the mainstream? But mainstream don't mean you're mainstream, mean your message is getting out there. Right? Because depending on the content of your character, what you put in the mainstream is now mineralizing those people. But if you come from the same poisonous fluoride type thinking that's not allowing people to evolve and become enlightened, then you're a part of the same agenda of the people who've always ran the mainstream. Right? So it's always this fight. And now we say, okay, well, they not gonna give me a pass to go past the gate and go to the mainstream and just sprinkle whatever I want into the stream. No. So let me find somebody who got a pass. Let me work with who got a pass. See, when you see somebody that makes it to put something into a mainstream, right, it doesn't mean that they got a pass. Right? It doesn't mean that the gatekeepers have changed. They got the same rules. I just understood their rules. Right. Okay, they rules, they don't let people with certain passes that did certain things. Okay. Well, let me go find somebody with a pass, build with them, so by the time I get there, I can sprinkle my sauce in the mainstream. Now, the outside don't understand this. So the outside looks at it and be like, oh, he went mainstream. But what did I put in the mainstream? Right. That's what matters. Right. It doesn't matter if you get to it. It doesn't matter what you put in it. Right. Because everybody gets their opportunity. Right, or not everybody, but people who have gotten their opportunity to get to a mainstream, they haven't always put something good in it. No, they conform. Right? And so now we at this point where we got technology and access to where you realize once you get over there, you can look and say, wait a minute, ain't nobody even watching this side. So now I can go to YouTube and I can create my own mainstream. Right? And then you start understanding that the issues that we've had is not really been the traditional gatekeepers. It's been a lack of understanding the system and how it works. Right? And now we have to update our revolutionary thinking to actually be revolutionary. Because revolutionary is not old. You can't be revolutionary and doing the thing that the old ways were. Right.
Well, theoretically, revolutionary is revolve. So the revolutionary is it's a continuum. You know what I mean? And it's a cycle. Right. Evolutionary, however, is one who begins to change and break out of the mold and whatnot. But
that's what I'm saying.
Both are essential.
Creating a revolution to where it becomes a cycle to evolve upon in the first place. Because we don't want to evolve upon the martyrism, because that's what we have. We have a cycle of martyrism revolution. Right. And you have to get to a point where you are willing to die for it, but you also have to get to a point where you don't have to die because you figured out how to live and win. Right? So it's saying that when do we get to that point? Is it the next 100 years? Everybody dies for it. And okay, maybe that has to be the sacrifice. Right? But when do you start planning to win?
Right. And that's the science behind the still circle, that stays still, and the forward progressing circle. You know what I'm saying? Which is where we trying to be. When you say thought leader, that's forward. What I'm saying?
That was also,
that's going.
Right. So, that was also the premise behind the Matrix.
Okay.
Right? The seventh iteration of Neo, he did not become a martyr.
Sixth iteration.
The sixth iteration did not get sacrificed.
Okay.
He did not become a martyr.
Okay.
He worked within Machine City.
Absolutely.
Right? Which the comparisons that you could make today of what we're experiencing with AI in the Matrix in its 24th year anniversary, I believe, it is astounding.
all the way up to Agent Smith. Now with AutoGPT, you're running an automated version of AI with agents, right?
That's called Agent GPT.
It's called Agent GPT. So Neo, which is the one, you know, he negotiated his contract with the machine and whatnot in Machine City to basically work within the system, and he was able to affect the mainstream, right? He got into the mainstream and he was able to affect the mainstream, but he didn't necessarily conform to the Matrix, and the Matrix didn't necessarily conform to everything that he was doing, right? So that's a very interesting concept, and what you were saying, Keys, about being able to interject the program or the protocols into the mainstream. I'm personally, you know, I've personally benefited from the injection of consciousness into the mainstream and the aesthetics, the evolution of the aesthetics of it. The fact that when I watched the interview with Kaba Khamenei, it was filmed in a way that was compelling, and it was like I couldn't necessarily turn away from it because of
For 3.5 hours.
Huh?
For 3.5 hours.
3.5, right? And then in the interview with Baba, there's been a repackaging, right? There's been a refurbishing, and there's been a redesign of information, right? While at the same time information is being augmented, right? The disruption that AI represents affects education into information first, right? It's taking out the information or the infopreneurs. That's who it's replacing first and foremost. But the way that it's been repackaged and resold to us, we're like, nah, you can't replace Baba. You know what I mean? You can't AI, you know, Professor Smalls. You can't clone Kaba Khamenei. Like these, but if we don't see them in a certain light, if they're not shown to us, if they're not given to us in a certain package, then they become expendable in this cycle that we're in,
and that's
where
why
the news is 24 hours and it has a certain flair to it and a certain spark to it and whatnot. And we went through about 4 years of heavy misinformation that was packaged by Fox and all of these other people. They put ribbon and bows on lies and threw it at us when they was hitting us with the Jabbington. That was all a very well. It had graphics to it.
But it was Proctor propaganda.
That's why the bigger and more prominent that AI becomes, the more valuable that the books are gonna be. The books that laid the foundation, they gonna be. I want to key in on something you said, Keys. You and you too, Red. You talked about getting into the mainstream and sprinkling. When I go back and think about The Godfather, you know, Don Corleone never wanted Michael to be a part of the mob. He wanted him to go into politics so that he could further their interests. And I'm always a firm believer in the change of this system has to be all of us and people like us birthing children that we pour these sciences and this knowledge into, and then sending them into the system to sprinkle exactly what you was talking about. You know, and I believe that's the change of this system, the change of this world, the change of America, most definitely.
Are you going?
No, you got something.
I think it's changed already.
Yeah.
With the new generation,
Right.
The kids nowadays, when you tell them to do something, they ask you why. Why I gotta do it? They already got the veil uncovered, so they already see it. So it's already we already at that point. So now we at the reconstruction point. How we gonna take what we sprinkle to this generation and apply it to help us with our evolution? So that's the stage we at now.
And I feel that the generations of like the nation and the gods and the earths, you know, the ones who came before us, they sprinkled it into our generation.
Yes.
And it's our generation that went into fashion and disrupted. We went into entertainment and disrupted. We went into music. We gave you Karl Kani, Cross Colors. We gave you film. We put our motifs and stuff in the film. We did our part as far as we could go. You know what I mean? We gave you the Black Comic Book Con and whatnot. We started developing, images and characters and our image. Our generation, the 70s, 80s, and 90s babies, we kind of did that. So, like Steve is saying, these post-COVID babies or these ones that came, post-2020, post-conjunction, they different, bro.
Yeah, and as we pour into them, they gonna get stronger and stronger, man.
Yes.
For real.
No, they definitely getting stronger and stronger, and they can retain a lot more information than we were able to contain.
Yeah, because they exposed to more information than we were exposed to.
Way more information.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what's important though is them having the ability to translate, decode, and understand it. Right? Like the test of AI is to understand, to see if it understands the information. Right, it's the Chinese box theory that a Chinese monkey box, right? If you got a monkey that you give a certain, signals to, when somebody asks it a question, you say black box, white box, and you tell the monkey put a black box right there, put a white box right there. On the outside, it feels like this box is conscious, it knows what's going on.
Right.
But on the inside, right, it's just somebody giving it protocols on what to do.
Right.
Right. So is that consciousness? No. Right. And then what is consciousness? Because these children are more machine-like and robotic-like and reflective of the things that they see. Like culture, if you notice, white people are becoming more cultural. Younger children, like the way that they speak. First, it was the iteration of hip-hop, right, that exported our influences, our language programs. Right, that was the first thing they got. Our language programs,
our large language model.
Our large language model.
LLMs,
now, TikTok to me is the new hip hop and its influence.
Yes,
because this is where people learn how to do the dances. They learn how to talk like us, walk, and they won't know the difference because when you used to think about, this white person is acting black. In the sense that if that white person grew up in a black neighborhood, then they're acting ethnic to their background and their environment.
Absolutely.
Now TikTok is becoming the ethnic background and learning environment of the world.
Portable
right?
environment.
And the dominant influence in culture is melanated people because we the flyers.
Yes.
Right?
Popular culture.
And so now that's being spread and it's going to be hard to say whose source. Right? Because the person be like, man, I was on TikTok. I learned that second hand or third hand or fifth hand from this person that got it from this person that got it from this person.
Right.
So their root of it is no longer this black kid or hip hop. Their favorite white influencers taught her to say bruh.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or say cap. Or whatever it may be.
Right.
So that's important, like controlling the export of our own culture. Because the after TikTok, the after AI generation, it's going to have a hard time of understanding identity. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
processing roots.
To take it even further, to take it a step further about where we are and what these days represent, me and you had a conversation, and I have to preface that conversation. It was a very enlightening and thoughtful conversation that we had, and you brought up the concept of this being the last days of man, and I found that very interesting, and it coincided with the studies that I was doing when I was studying the German philosopher Nietzsche, and how the German American, who happens to be the largest majority of European in America,
yes,
and also other Europeans by way of the Ivy Leagues and the colleges and whatnot, when they teach psychology and when they teach you westernized thought, they focus on nihilism, right? They focus heavy on nihilism. They focus on existential thought and whatnot, where they question,
define nihilism,
where Western man questions his role in the universe, and where Western man questions God's role in the universe, and where Western man even questions if there is a God, right? That's leaning more into nihilistic thought, right? Where they have a dystopian mind, right? Where everything is about the end of the world, where everything is about God, doomsday.
Yeah, let me preference. In the mid 1800s, this would even be before the quote unquote Emancipation Proclamation. In Eastern Europe, in that particular hemisphere, their ideological thought leaders, right, were questioning religion and the foundation of religion, and they came to a point where they said that they was able to disprove the fairy taleisms, of what organized religion represented, and they said that this is no longer idealistic for us. So God is dead.
God is dead.
In their world, they said we don't need this no more because we've disproven it. So this is what I was talking about before with this whole concept of, in order to understand the implications of AI, we should take a look at the mind responsible for interfacing with it, packaging it, and presenting it, because that mind,
the programmer,
right, that the actual programmer is somewhat dealing with a fatalistic worldview based on the fact that they don't have a concept of God. And Western science has not successfully identified what consciousness is or intelligence, right?
You know what's...
So
Go ahead.
So it's not enough to say, oh, these are the people that you're going to put in charge of putting safeguards for technology together. These people don't have a concept of that level of responsibility, because these people are inherently nihilistic, because they don't see their purpose on this planet to begin with. They challenged the whole concept of reality, and they said there is no meaning to life.
Right.
And then they had 3 different versions of that based on nihilism, based on absurdism.
Absurdism, right.
Right? And there was another third one.
Existentialism.
Existentialism is saying, well, fuck it, let's go and make a meaning of life. Absurdism is saying, there ain't no meaning, and laugh in the face of the fact that it ain't no meaning.
Right, we just gonna roll with it.
Right?
F it.
Nihilism was like, it don't exist per se. So
that's a beautiful thing, man, because actually, Keys, you have a direct link into an AI programmer, the brother human that we had. So, when people like you have the ability to tap into that, then AI is going to turn into something totally different versus what they may want it to turn into.
Well, right. So this
can I preference my
real quick? I just wanted to preference that. That's why it's so important that we engage in these conversations early and get to the thought leaders and the thought titans.
Yes.
To know that if you program an externalized thought mechanism, or quote unquote, a mind matrix.
Yes, sir.
You feel me? Then it's gonna operate in a way in which we've never seen technology operated, because we've never programmed it to carry out these particular set of commands.
Right.
Because no other man is gonna have that level or that set of commands that you're gonna have, because they don't have the same worldview as you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So to land a plane to what I initially began with, in these studies of Nietzsche, they bring up the Superman, right? The same Superman that Hitler speaks of in Mein Kampf, right? The Ubermensch, right? And he also speaks about the last man, right? That is very, very prominent in his teachings and his philosophy of the last man. So I know that...
What was that? He said there's gonna come a time.
There's gonna come a time
when man is not what? He's not gonna have the will, the drive, the desire, to effectuate change.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like this man that can use a remote for the TV and order food. You don't got the will to get up there. You know what I'm saying? Get outside and
do anything.
You had to go and get your food before. There was an incentive for you to get up.
Right. You just have to work for everything.
Eat. Yeah, so
you gotta work for nothing.
This level of comfortability, and we're on the cusp of looking at that with AI, where you like, damn, if AI could think for you, if AI can do this for you and do that for you, well, what is man gonna be left to do? You know what I'm saying? And if man loses even more meaning while he's looking for meaning, and if all meaning is taken away at that, like, what is man left with? And I want you to answer that as well, Steve, because your podcast specifically deals with this concept of what is a man in these modern day times. Like, how do we respond to all of these gauges, these triggers? They're redefining in real time in our face, not only
what a man
the
is.
meaning of a man is, what the meaning of a woman is.
Right.
And I think that, they both, coincide hand in hand. So,
I think I said this before on high level conversations. What I think, man is gonna have to collect the data. All the data that's coming in, collect it. Pick out the data that is righteous and apply it to your life. Systemize it, crystallize it.
Right.
That's all you can do. Cause it like you said, it's already here, it's on the rise. So you gotta implement it in your everyday life, but you gotta implement it the right way. We can't do it like our ancestors did, or you know what I'm saying, or the white man did it.
Right.
We gotta create a whole new wave.
I think man has to lose his way completely in order to appreciate what he has.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Woo.
Right? You know, when you talk about what it means to be human or man, because man didn't just mean the masculine side, it actually meant the woman as well, right? It was just a way to describe mankind or
woman,
men,
right.
like, human beings.
Right.
So it takes on that same energy of, like, when you're in a relationship where you have something, we don't often appreciate things until we lose them. Right, until we mess it up and we no longer have privilege of that anymore.
Right.
And then the great revolution, if you will, becomes getting those things back. And all the things you'll be willing to do just to get it back. But the appreciation in that journey of fighting for it back, of seeing the value in it, right? Of saying that, damn, I want to be a full man again. Right, willful, determined, examining, mathematical, right, executing, right, a person that experiences, thinks, feels, hears, sounds, intuitive, like, the fight of going back to being a full, alive, awake human being where you see the colors, right, you see the senses, you smell the nature, you're outside. I believe that's what man ultimately is has to lose those things in order to appreciate those things.
Right.
It already started, Keith.
Absolutely.
C19.
But as we talk about, the last man, right? And the concept came from my own introspective journey of, just integrating my shadow self, right? And going through the therapeutic cycle of what that means. Right, and thinking about, right, I was studying some stuff. He was talking about the vagus nerves and things of that nature. And
what are the vagus nerves for the audience?
The vagus nerve is that nerve that, when it puts us into the flight or freeze mode, the fear mode, right?
Okay.
It's a nerve
Fight or
that
flight.
sends signals throughout your body. If something happens, then it'll tell you to stop.
Okay.
But if you have a continuous trauma, then it's constantly sending that signal and it never cuts off.
Okay.
Right? So, human beings are in this continuous signal mode, right? Where they're in this constant state of fight or flight. Right? And so it puts you into survival mode.
Right.
Right? And so certain parts of yourself shut down, certain parts can be heightened. Right? But as I was studying that to understand, why do I feel certain things? Why do we go through certain things? Right? And in that deep study of understanding the human body, the mind, the emotions, the spirit of all these connections, it makes you more human to be innately aware of these things.
Right.
Understanding, like, exoteric, what's it called?
Exoteric.
No, not esoteric, but exocerative. I'm trying to get the right enunciation, but it is the awareness of things outside of self, right?
Okay.
Starting from, like, the skin layer on out, versus introcerative, which is the awareness of all things on the inside.
Right.
So some people are more naturally interoceptive. I know I'm saying that wrong, but that's the concept. Interoceptive. There you go. Some people are natural extroceptive, right?
Right.
And so, like, if you're meditating and you may be going deep inside yourself, but what you could be doing is making yourself more of being interoceptive when you really need to be more exo. right? And so what that can do is it can heighten your anxiety because now you're in your brain too much. Now you're overthinking.
Your thoughts.
Now, like when you feel something, all the focus goes into that internal area, right? Or wherever that area is because you're more intero. Versus
Like
extero, somebody need to focus on how do I meditate and focus outside of self so I'm not stuck in my head or what's going on and I can just be in the flow.
So how do I exert myself as an extrovert into society? Become more social.
Exactly.
And break through my fears or my anxieties. Just do it.
Exactly.
Because some people can't jump off the porch because of paralysis analysis.
And that's why you get the buildup of the social anxiety. But I say that to say this. You know, all of that is the search of the human being to find balance and understanding within self.
Right.
Okay.
And we lose that study and that deepness and that connection the more we rely on technology. Right? We lose the awareness of self and everything becomes existential. Everything becomes, you know, instead of me remembering it's my connection to this phone. Right? And so now our emotional development and intelligence, right, is lessening. Anxiety is increasing, stress is increasing, depression is increasing, right? As we talked about the mad world increasing, mobilization, automation, digitization. So our reliance on technology is decreasing our reliance on ourselves, right? So, you know, now that I can go talk to AI as a therapist, right? And it's telling me what to do. It may have me skipping the parts of what I need to feel because it's giving me the answer. And so human beings, as we grow as men, if we go through something and we do wrong, we need to feel that shame, right? That shame, not to be stuck in there, but you got to feel it.
Feel it.
Because if you feel that shame is saying that you're a bad person.
Right.
And if you inherently believe you're a good person, then you're going to do the work in order not to be bad. That guilt is saying, oh, I did something wrong. Right? And so now you have to go from the shame, from the guilt, then to going to releasing it and being to that heightened state. But if you don't have the ability to go from that lower level to that higher level, we're just going to have a world of nothing but lower level human beings.
Dumbed down.
And that's why man doesn't appreciate all of these abilities he has. Like, we got all this technology, all this AI, all the media. Like, I still think YouTube is the most underappreciated social media platform to this day.
Come on, man.
Right.
Because not only can you make yourself, I would say, financially successful doing it correctly, but you can literally create your media platform at any moment in time. You have an idea. Anybody in the world can just get started right now.
Wow.
Right? And instead of getting started, we get mad at other people who got started and be like, why you ain't got me on your platform?
Right.
And it's like, but we don't live in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. We live in a time where you can just create a platform. Now, what is going to take for you to be a human being and figure that out, right? And go through a strategic process, because I'll land here, what we need to do ultimately, because my next book is called Self-Wars. It's about the daily mental and spiritual battles to win the war of life. And what most people have is nothing. They're tactical. They're reactive with everything, right? In any situation, I'm just, what's my tactic to get over this? What's my tactic to get out of this?
Right.
But see, in general, he got strategies. He got a philosophy that over encompasses his movement.
Yes.
The way I do things, the way of.
Yes.
Right? So when you have a strategy, you're not just relying on the spirit of the moment. Right? You're not just saying, okay, what's my tactic to get out of this? No. And a grand strategist is a person that don't just have a philosophy. It's a person that can take a step back and they can look at the whole landscape, right? And then they can look at the root of it, the history of it, the causes, the effects, and then they can say, okay, I'm going to come up with a grand strategy, and then I'm going to go on a campaign. That's what war generals have done. That's what politicians do. That's what people who run the world do. They take a step back. You say AI's coming. A tactic will be, let me just use AI. Let me see how everybody else is using it. No, that's not the way. Strategy be like, you know what? Let me study this, figure it out, let me see what's going on. All right, I have a strategy. I'm going to use AI to improve business efficiency. I'm going to teach everybody. Then the grand strategy said, wait a minute. What's going on in the world? What's the history of this? Let me study this. Let me understand what's going on. And then they said, maybe I'll create my own software. Maybe I can use this for the world. And so when we come up, then once I do that, I'm going to create my campaign. Right? So now everything is from this very high level informed place versus reactive, and there's levels to it, and I can see how everybody's reacting. And people ask me, why you ain't making more content about technology? And I'm like, I'm in grand strategy mode.
Right.
Come on, man.
I'm not in tactic mode. Everybody see tactics. Oh, this person, he made this type of post. I'm gonna make that too. It's working for him.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's plagiarism, copy,
Come on,
right?
man.
Repeat cycle. You acting like a machine.
Come on, man.
Human
Right.
beings is different. I don't want to be like a machine. I want to be a human being.
Come on,
A human
man.
being can foster original thought that's not out there.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm going to be inspired. Right, that's what a human being is. He aspires. A machine copies.
That's right.
Right?
That's
So you have to get to that
Right.
point where you're operating from the human spirit, not the machine spirit.
Right.
Because we learn how to synthesize data, make calculations, right? Programs. This is the computer language.
Come on,
Right.
man.
The human language is inspiration.
That's right.
You know what I mean? The human language is aspiration,
That's
right?
right.
The human language is being willful,
Yes.
determinate. These are
Yes.
not words and languages we use for machines.
Right.
Right.
So when people lose that and the world goes through the de-skilling, right? The destruction of creativity, the lack of value, the complete devaluing of human beings, they're gonna have to sit back and they're gonna all have to come up with a grand strategy again.
And you know what, man? That ties into something that I said on one of our first shows. Blue asked me. I said I believe AI is going to be one of the worst things ever happened to man because it's dumbing him down. He doesn't have to work for it anymore. When I was growing up, my father used to say, "Go to that encyclopedia. You ask me a question, go find it." You know what I'm saying? You had to look for it. Now you ain't got to. Even with the creativity part. You can just get on the computer and create an NFG. There was a time when you had NFT. There was a time when you had to be an artist. You had to have skill. You had to have creative thought to actually, do those things.
I'm gonna fight back on I definitely don't think it's the worst thing that ever happened. I think it might be the best thing, in the sense that, look at it like this. Number one, and this is saying hindsight, because we're in 2023, so we have hindsight of looking at the eons of time before us, right?
Okay,
And all
okay.
the iterations.
Okay.
Right? Because number one, AI ain't worse than slavery. So, you know what I'm saying? AI ain't
No,
worse
that's
than
why I
it
said
ain't worse
one
than the
of.
crack
I
era.
said one of the.
You know what I'm saying? But it's hard to put those two next to each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's very hard when I think about like child sex trafficking and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Nigga put him for organ harvesting.
it's hard for me to connect that to, you feel me, some of the things I know about the world. But I get what we said, and I think what and this AI works so well, and open AI specifically, so successful with its 100+ million users because it has 50 years of marketing. Right, this is the first technology that's ever came out with 50 years of market research and testing and movies and media before it comes out. So you don't have to guess what AI is. Everybody has at least some foundational understanding, even though this technology is something you never experienced and used before.
We've been primed already.
Because Google is kind of like AI.
But when we talk about, it being good or bad, right? It really depends on your experience, number one. It can be seen as a surgence of wealth because as I was using video.ai yesterday, I have some people on my team that I'm like, yo, I need you to make me videos of this. I need these clips. 2 days later, I don't got no clips.
Right.
I go on video.ai, take that link, drop it in there, pay for the service, boom, I get clips in 5 minutes.
Right.
Fired.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What is that? That's saving me time, right, and money, right? So that means that the workforce, because when you judge industrial revolutions, you have to look at how the workforce improves.
Absolutely.
Right? So now what we've gotten, everything that was once for the wealthy is for the common man.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm like Uber, delivery service, lab-grown diamonds. Instead of just rich having them, now everybody can have them. Put a diamond tester to it. You can't tell. Ethical, they're not blood diamonds.
Yeah.
Right? Food service deliveries. Only rich people can have a personal chef.
Right.
A customizable doctors to where you have a personal physician.
Yes.
Right? That's just for you. A tutor at home. Like these are things that's going to take all of those luxury items because of the expense that was in them. Right? And give it to everybody, which changes the standard of living instantly. So a person making $50,000, $30,000, you can think that, and this is why society doesn't really know how to measure progress. Because what you're looking at is, I'm making the same amount of money, inflation, but you have access to way more things. In order to even enjoy entertainment, I had 7 channels growing up. I had to go watch a movie at the movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's right there on your TV.
Yeah.
Like your standard of living has increased significantly in 2023.
So we could say that
Right.
in 2023, as we simultaneously watch them destroying the middle class, we're also simultaneously watching them democratize luxury.
Absolutely.
And give everybody access to the gauge of what it actually, quote unquote, might feel like to have some bread. You know what I'm saying? When you like, damn, if I get A, I'm gonna be able to do B.
But what's
Bro,
the
don't
what's the
everybody
cardinal
got a blue
rule?
check today?
Right, the blue check.
I'm saying like
Everybody got a blue check.
I've been saying this for a while, so I want to really drive home this point. Like, and this is why people don't appreciate what they have unless they don't have it and they see the rich with it.
That's
right.
Right now, all of a sudden, that when everybody get it, it's cheap. Why?
it's cheap.
Right.
You don't respect yourself. That's why.
That's right.
Right, and so when they had it, it was aspirational because it was
Right.
out of your
Right.
hands, and only a few people can have it.
Right.
So this type of thought process is
Something
that
you
crab
can
in the
floss with.
barrel. It's that
Right.
classism. I need to have something you don't have, but when you have it, I don't
101.
appreciate it.
Right.
They also mad that a lot of them keys, and I'm gonna say this, pay $5,000 and $10,000 for them
for sure.
checks.
That's
but now
why they
that you
mad.
can get it for $14.99 a month,
Right.
they pissed. They don't like that.
That's where the
See?
backlash
Yeah,
is coming
See,
in.
what you got to
They
understand
got
is
finesse.
That's
Two
right.
the
times.
bigger play
That's
with
right.
the whole verification is we have to have a future where everything is verified because it's easily copied now.
Absolutely.
Right, so while
Beyond
people are
right.
worrying about blue checks, you have to understand that all of these systems, as AI increases, they may be getting a bag play right now on it, but in the future, everything is going to have to be verified at some level. So while this may have been a luxury at first, it has to become a standard. And while business practices has to shift as technology and security concerns increases. So
Well-
people are looking at it from a social play, but you have to look at it from the business infrastructure and the way the world is changing.
Right.
Blockchain was a verification system,
Absolutely.
right?
Exactly what it is.
Imagine when
Open
there's
ledger.
blockchain verification and say you are who you are.
Wow.
Now I know I am talking to you and not an AI version that looks exactly like you, right? That can talk like you. A person can make 1 million bots in the world.
Talked about-
I'm sure the scams is at the highest level in the history of the world right
Right.
now.
I talked
sir.
about that
Me and
earlier.
him, we were speaking, right, the other day, and we figured that what? The scammers had to have already had access to this information. So society is now late to something that the scammers was already at the forefront with.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a physical person making them clone pages.
No.
And asking the
was
same
a scraper.
questions in the same way. That was a
That was a
That was a
bot.
bot.
That was an automated bot
Right.
running
That was
through
AI.
Zapier with a scraper. Right? It was a scraper that scraped the internet and your information. It trained a model on your information, and then they had an automated chat bot chatting with you. I failed the Turing test.
you feel the Turing test.
I got
failed it as
finesse.
well.
I got finesse for $500.
And this is the thing
Real
that I was
quick, no.
thinking about with intelligence, right? The thing about machine learning is that it's going to learn from its mistake.
Right.
The problem that we have with humans that
We
is
repeat.
kind of
We don't learn from our
nervous
mistakes.
Right.
is that we are repeating it and we don't necessarily learn from our mistakes.
Most people not that smart. IQ,
Right.
like I think this is what we gotta understand because I think it's all intelligent brothers, and sometimes I think you project your intelligence onto other people, into thinking that at least this, so you have this kind of common sense, but the vast amount of human beings don't have critical thinking whatsoever, right? And so we talked about natural intelligence and the ability to be a critical thinker, to have logic and reasoning skills. These are at the lowest that I've ever seen, right? Like, just look at comments and look at podcasts. Anybody with a little bit of trauma, right, in a voice box,
Now they a
and
boss.
create a podcast and give out an opinion that and can make it sound as if it makes sense because you have a silo of people who will agree with you because
Yes.
they at the same level of intelligence that you are.
Yes, yes.
Right? And this is confusing society and thinking that these social conversations are, valid when they're not. These are just idiots talking to each other and doing it in front of everybody.
Wow.
Right? And it's becoming validated.
Wow.
So it's like, we don't like it's not at a point where the smartest people are the only ones who can start podcasts.
Right.
Right.
No, anybody. I
Anybody.
mean, you can literally have failed everything in life and then go start a podcast. Right? And nothing wrong with starting one. I'm just saying that when you look around, think about how smart these people actually are. right? Because we're devaluing intelligence this day.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
and
yes.
we're increasing the value on gossip, and ignorance goes viral. Right?
Super
It's
viral.
very hard to make intellectual conversation
Go viral. Absolutely.
Intelligence go viral
Absolutely.
because intelligence is going to bring you to a point. So there's nothing like over crazy about it. It's like, okay, that was logical. That's the end. Right? But when it's something illogical, you have to keep thinking about it. Like, what is they just, bro, look at this dumb stuff.
You gotta keep going back.
People tripping. Right? That's why we like prank videos, because you can't tell if it's real or not. So
Right.
it keeps you in the curiosity gap.
Right.
Right? And people are becoming, psychological masters at propaganda and narcissistic type of programming, don't realize it though, because what they're doing is they're watching other masters and copying those techniques.
Right.
And so that's becoming the basis of their business plan and how they're going to go about creating content. That's their strategy.
Similar to how the machine learns.
Exactly.
Machine learning and whatnot. They're cloning.
Right.
Right? Because when it comes to going viral and whatnot, especially in TikTok culture, you are to clone what's working. When the online marketers do their presentations and whatnot, they tell you to clone other people's pages, clone the Shopify store, clone the descriptions on eBay, right? So this cloning that people are so upset about with, AI is cloning the rappers. Well, what about the rappers clone the other rappers? How about Jay-Z clone Biggie? Nobody talked about that.
But in the culture, we call that a D-rider.
Well, I think
Somebody who just
But I think it's that goes back to inspiration. I think also our culture is just toxic as hell. So I think you can be inspired by another person. And
Right.
plagiarism is a different, because giving credit what credit is due is that key system
yes.
of allowing us to flourish. Right?
Right.
We don't like to give credit. We steal and make it seem like it's ours. And it's like, come on, bro, you ain't coming with that. You know you ain't. Right? But back to that point about AI being the worst. The idea of it is what it is. It's like a gun. You know what I'm saying? Like, AI can be the new nuclear weapon, right? Or it can be a tool for parts of, salvation and change that we can utilize, because it's just a technology that is based on human beings.
Okay.
Right? Like, I want us to understand, it's not based on aliens. It's not based on something foreign. Mm-hmm. It's based on human intelligence.
Yeah. Right.
Natural intelligent systems, which is us, the brain.
Right.
So the fear of AI is the fear of self.
Right.
That's all. Right? We fear, it's like fearing another, advanced race of human beings that's cloned directly from us coming. And we thinking about how bad we are and be like,
we in for some
bad.
Bad on us.
So it's like AI can only do what human beings can do.
Man, that's
like that's why the fear of it is crazy. But I get these substantiated claims, and specifically when you're talking about all of the crazy stuff that those of the 1% and those who have control over the technology, specifically the type of AI that has no master, the type of AI that is unbiased, and whatever you tell it to do, it will do it.
Right.
But this is the power that the elite has always had, right? So the thing is, either you the people that's under the table and you rise up, or you keep complaining about what they putting on the table.
Right.
What about this notion that AI is gonna do like the movies and just take over the world without a?
Well, that's if it's like white men. If it's like black men, you know what I'm saying? If it's like me, I don't want to take over the world, kill everybody. Like, why would I want to? Like, that's crazy. First of all, but where did that come from? You got to look at the origin stories, right? The origin stories, it comes from white media and white movies, and white conception, nihilistic thinking, right? And these white crazy mind. It's the tech bias that's built into it. So you have to say it properly. People fear the fact that white engineers have created it based on their nature, right? They don't fear AI. They fear the developer of AI has programmed it to be like them.
Right.
Okay.
So here's the thought experiment.
Gotcha.
Let's say origins of AI, and this is for everybody out there. Let's say origins of AI comes out of Yugoslavia, Russia somewhere, right? Made in this lab, right? There's a certain origin story attached to it. Just think about the feeling. Okay, what do you think that ultimate AI is going to be when it becomes super AGI quantum computer? Now, there's this other AI that came out of Ethiopia, right? This AI is also going to be quantum computer capable AGI, right? Now, you ask everybody in the world, which AI would you want to run the future? Right? Like, what are the implications that both of them are AI systems.
Right.
But this was made by the people in Ethiopia. It's made by the people in Russia.
Right.
Right? So, okay, which AI? Do you get a warm, fuzzy feeling about the future or a cold feeling? Right? So you have to think, it's not AI, it's where it comes from. It's who makes it that people are afraid of.
The program.
Right.
That's simple.
It's a problem right now because only a few companies got it. You got OpenAI, you got Google, you got what's the other one? DeepMind. Google got one called DeepMind.
Yeah, Google.
Only a few people.
But the problem with everything.
Nah. Hold on.
Social media.
You got Alpaca. You got Llama. You have multiple open source AIs that have released. I believe one called Open Source just came out. Like it's a competitor. It's trained on smaller models. Of course, it's not on the biggest parameters that ChatGPT 4 is built on, but there are open source LLMs out there now with no parameters on it.
Democratized.
Right. They have, when I say no parameters, no guardrails. ChatGPT 4 has a muzzle on it. Right? It has guardrails on it. The way that they built it, they built certain guardrails. It's politicized. It won't tell you about the truth about the European and whatnot. It won't give you the dirt on the Vatican. It has a muzzle on it. It's censored. Right?
Right.
They created an LLM that's censored. The AI is censored. So it has blinders on it because the programmers, people from like 4chan mentality, you know what I mean? We know what they on, right? They went ahead and hacked that and whatnot, and they created LLMs of equal power with no muzzle, right? That's why there's conversations about good actors and bad actors that have their hands on this technology right now, and they're trying to make a big fuss about it with regulating it because, you know, it's in the hands of
It's too late.
It's too late. But it's
let it out the box. It's
a genie out the box. Yeah. Can you put a genie back in the bottle?
And it don't make sense. 6 months. They just say 6 months till they build a competitor.
Come on, man.
That's what he did. What did he do exactly? That's what he couldn't even wait 2 weeks.
No.
He said, Elon Musk said all of that cap and then came up when nobody was really biting that. Then he was like, I'm just making Truth GPT. You should have said that in the first interview.
Listen, that's
you being out-competed.
Monopolistic thinking is what they're always trying to stop. Who is going to be the one that has a monopoly? America doesn't put guardrails so that things can be better and good. It's just so that one group doesn't own everything.
Everything, right?
Right. It's about monopolization, right? And it's always been that way. That's been the tech fight this whole entire time. They've been suing these companies for, monopoly rules that they've broken and those particular laws. They've been in and out in the last decades because of that. And it's been that way since the Industrial Revolution of the railroads and the steam engine, monopolizing that. And then you have media, right? And so it's always been about monopolization. Who gets to control everything?
Right.
Right. And so open AI, they like, right, it's going way too fast. Can we get 6 months? Right.
Not open AI.
Well, I'm saying that the confluence of the competitors coming together and saying we sending a letter and saying these dudes is ahead of us. What's going on? They ain't doing it so that you can stop AI. Because what's 6 months gonna do? You put a pause button and you press the play again. That makes absolutely zero sense.
Right.
Either you're saying permanent pause, right? Where it's no homo forever, right? Or you saying that let me catch we're going to catch up, and then we feel like this is equal.
That part.
The
the models are going to be trained.
I would say put the pause on the brakes until we got a black equal one, man. That's it.
And we working on
it. Let's sign the letter.
You're going to begin to see more. You're going to see more.
The hate
more,
rule.
AI. More podcasts like this come out with people that look like us, and we're exhibiting a overstanding and an understanding of that system. The monopoly will respond. The key to the monopoly, when they threw it out there, Midjourney is stealing from the artists. Who is that to deter? You.
Oh,
when they threw it out there, AI is stealing jobs. Who was that used to deter? You. The same, because they feed it through the same slop that they were feeding all of the fear campaigns, all of the other campaigns where they had our people walking in a straight line like cattle with blinders on, right? So that same, you know, I remember doing the research, and then I heard a reporter, ChatGPT, come on ABC Worldly News, right? That's the slop that they feed to people like our parents and elders and whatnot who are still tuned into these unreliable sources of information. And it was given to them, it was fed to them through a fear funnel.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't given through them to a power funnel. It was given through them, it was being fed to them through a fear funnel. So now you got people worried, oh my goodness, did you hear about that AI? Right? Meanwhile, the same day, there was all of these round A's and B's of companies and startups getting funded in the billions. So once again, they're throwing you, the public.
We always late to the
while they're building and they're taking off on rocket ships, and the plane has left the quote unquote hangar, right? The train has left the station, and the car has left the quote unquote garage, and we standing there again holding the damn buck, talking and gossiping and babbling about nothing. And all I'm saying is we should work more in private. We should work more on solutions. And we should work more in not in competition, but in collaboration. Because when you do the research, that's they monopolize. They'll come together and form Voltron when you come into the building. That's when they're going to gang up. That's when Sam Altman and Elon Musk will do a joint interview to talk about your company, because you're the threat. So they don't want the average man and woman to get a greater understanding of the opportunities that await us right now. Similar to, I used to see how their faces were screwed up when Keys was walking into the crypto events. You feel me? And they was like, oh, who invited the niggas? The niggas done showed up. Yeah. Then you started seeing crypto start to dive and whatnot. Yeah. And it was a manipulation from within.
But you know, you pinged me right into my next, question for Keys. So you mentioned secrecy and moving in silence. In the card deck, as y'all know, I do the cardology. So the thought leader, it's a beauty to see from a card standpoint somebody actually living in their card. See, a lot of us live to be what our parents said we should be, or a friend down the street, but you living in your card. And when you living in your card, it shows the blessings of Allah. It shows the blessings of the universe, because you walking in your purpose. You standing on your square. And in the grand solar spread, each card is standing on a square. So to see this and to listen to this, I'm like, you must be doing something in the shadows. You know what I'm saying? That, you getting the world ready for it.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you something, man, because I want to pivot for a minute and talk a little bit about you. We know you're a great mind. We know that you moving and shaking, but when it comes to you, when I first heard you, I said, damn, man, I said, he's sharp. I said, but I can tell he was raised in the nation or the Moorish Science Temple. I just knew it. But because of your crown, I pretty much felt like it was the nation. And so when I met you, it was like, okay, I peeped the energy. The energy wasn't very inviting. The energy wasn't very, approachable. So I wanted to ask you this, man, because when I went back to the cards and I looked at it, you were Pluto to me. So I take everything back because I live my life by that science. Is there a science, bro, behind the way you interact with people when you first meet them? Do you do that to protect yourself? Do you do that because you are a master reader when it comes to energy? You know what I'm saying? Or I just want to know, is there a science behind that for me and for the people out there?
Well, first of all, thank you for all your words. I appreciate that. That's a very great question. I haven't got that question before.
You did. I kind of asked him this morning. Told him if I write a book, I'm gonna pick 19 spiritual laws that I observed, 19 keys throughout my lifetime, apply to himself and give people his strategy of how he used their law.
Wow. Man, listen, bro, that's always been one of my questions. I asked Blue, you know, so I'm asking you because I want to know. That's, from you, from the horse's mouth.
I would say from an intentional standpoint, I always, I have a lot of brothers, right? So my first preconditions of how I treat people is how I treat my brothers.
Okay.
And I have brothers of different degrees, right? And so when I meet men, I treat men like men. And that means I don't have to be nice to you.
Okay, gotcha.
If you're a man, I don't have to be nice to you. If you're a boy, a child, I might have to be nice to you.
Okay.
Children need that.
Yes, sir.
But a man learns based on how energy is received and reciprocated around them, and that energy can change the next time. Or it may not be personal. Right? And I think when you're a man, you don't take everything personal.
Yes, sir.
Because, I meet people of various degrees, and I know it couldn't be me because you don't know me.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? But these are our levels meeting at that point in time. When I meet people, I try my best effort, especially when I'm in large settings of people, to be absorbent, right? I practice looking at the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I remember seeing how he would walk through the people, and his energy, I never seen it shift. Never seen one time where he was just like standoffish, and another time he was just hella embracing. So I've been focusing on, like, when I'm around a large amount of people, make sure my energy is there to receive them and be a servant for them, right? And then it may be other times where I try to keep, my aura field at 10 feet.
Yes.
Where it's like, this time is actually for me.
Got you.
Right?
Okay.
Not for everybody.
Got you, bro.
Because if I make my time for everybody, I make no time for myself.
Yes, sir. I understand.
Right? And then that's actually a weakness where most people think it's a strength. Like, so when you talk about being nice can mean you being stupid. Right?
Or naive.
Right. And so I never want to be stupid, not for nobody.
Yes.
Right? And so if my energy meets you, it has nothing to do with you, but people always internalize that and say that, oh, bro don't like me, or bro must be like this all the time. How could I make any level of success? Right? If I rub everybody the wrong way. But for me, and I'm just saying this as my level of growth, I'm learning now, just to be empathetic and be, sensitive to the energies that I do come in, because I always see myself the same, but the world sees me differently. The world see the moves, the growth. I'm just in the middle and I'm doing things.
Yes, sir.
Right? But what I realized, like, oh no, this person was meeting 19 keys, right? And they wanted 19 keys to be the image of who they believe 19 keys is, and I'm only going to show up as the image of who I am, right? And if it doesn't meet that, then there's disappointment. And so now it's the whole treat the janitor like the president. You know what I'm saying? I want everybody to walk away with a good feeling and a good energy.
Yes.
10 years later, they may tell that story. 10 years later, like, they may have a conversation with somebody, yo, I want to do business with Keys. How was he? Man, I met that bro act like he ain't like me.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Wow. But it couldn't have been you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I could have just had bad news from family.
Man.
Right? I go through so many things, but when you talked about the whole, like, secretness and sacredness and the darkness and the shadow work, that's all I'm doing right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that part, I don't believe is for everybody. That part is for myself, but everybody benefits, right? And so, connecting with people and the intentionality of connecting with people, for me, is over time, right? Like, if you may call me Blue Note, sometimes it was a period where I just wasn't answering the phone because I feel like I couldn't, because if I did that, I was betraying myself.
Wow.
And the time that I was using for myself to build, I would be giving that away to everybody else, which means I got to get that time back.
Right.
But that don't mean you ain't the homie. That don't mean you ain't right there in the same regard as I always held you.
Got you.
Right?
Got you.
But then when that season passes, no longer winter and it's springtime.
Right.
Bro, I'm calling you.
Man, I love that. I love that analogy.
And it's necessary because we go through cycles.
Wow.
But I would say this, in the proper handling of people, because there is a guidebook on the proper handling of people, treat all people, right? And give them the energy you want them to walk away and tell somebody else about.
Yes.
Right? And then build relationships. When you meet people, don't ask them for things and stuff like this and try to take their energy. Give them energy.
Yes.
Right? So they don't feel like they have to be defensive because you're always asking for something.
Yes.
Right.
Instead, it's, when I meet people, what can I do for you?
Right.
Right. And then we may not have to have we can't have a conversation about, business or certain things to maybe the 10th time we meet each other or talk, or maybe a year or two from now. Every relationship is different. So I feel like people don't really strategize in their relationship building anymore. Everything is instant because social media is
instant gratification.
I'll tell you one thing ain't changed is the way we get to know people and trust people.
Yeah.
Right.
That to me, out of all these things that have happened in the world, you still gotta 3 points of contact before I feel like I met you before.
Right.
One point, people hit me, bro. You remember me? How could I? Think about I never said I had that type of grand memory. Bro. I remember everything in every instance.
How could I?
Purposely says that I need to just put this in a recycle bin because that didn't make impact.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
It's still there. You got the recycle bin on computer. You don't delete. It's there, but it only gonna restore that file the second time. You're like, all right, definitely don't delete it. You met bro again. The third time you may add some more context around it. Like, all right, make a file for this person. You know them, right? Try not to forget them again, right? And so it's like, for me, when I meet people, they walk up to me all kind of ways, and I always stop people. What's your name? Mm-hmm. Right? Because I want to remember. I want to log this in, but two, I want you to address me as a human being. Right. Not at this entity that you've heard about or seen, or I seen you on social media. You're the Instagram person, or you're the YouTube person, or you're the EYL person, or the Goldwater person, whatever. No, I'm me.
Right.
This is the way you heard about me and interacted with me. And human beings have this thing where now we're objectifying and bottling people up in whatever way that we first interacted with
interface with them, right?
But it's like if Blue Pill told you about you the Blue Pill person. Like, no, that's just you heard about me from Blue Pill. But no, I'm 19 Keys. Right? So I think in the grand handling of people, man, treat people how you want to be treated. Leave them with the energy that you want them to carry on to the next person as they tell your tale. Right? And then in building relationships, work it to where, you're intentional and you're going to people and, you're giving them an energy to where they appreciate it, number one, and you're trying to give them a value to where they I need to know this person. Right? And don't do it when you first meet people. Don't first DM people and then ask for something. Let that be iterations. It might be the 10th time that y'all interacted, maybe the 20th time that y'all interacted. Right. Some people don't interact with their mama that much. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody don't talk to their mama or their pops or their brother or sister daily. And here you are asking for something, right? And I have less interactions with you than that I have with anybody in life. Right. And I have no care or concern for you whatsoever because I'm a man. First and foremost, for me, I'm a man's man. Right? But I'm going through my motions of my shadow work.
And I think that's a powerful answer, bro, because you just showed the world your humanity. Like, a lot of people may think, hey, Key's got it all together. He's perfect. So for you to say that I'm working on this, for you to say that, I think a lot of people can identify with that even as a leader, man, that's why Jesus used to retreat and say, I got to go in the wilderness, man. Y'all, you said that me time. That's self-time. When Jesus retreated and went into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights, he wrestled with himself. He dealt with himself. And when he was ready, he went back out into the people. And I understand what you're saying. You need those times when, man, I need to retreat. But sometimes I may not have time to go into the wilderness. So I'll be in the wilderness in my mind amongst the people. Right. Yeah, I see.
So I wanted to ask our brother Steve.
Yes, sir.
Right? Because, it's looked upon as Red as my older brother or my, for the majority of our lives, maybe my bigger brother, if you will, So I've always adopted somewhat of a supportive role, in our relationships, for the most part. And I don't think it was at the consequence of putting somebody before myself more so, but he was more of the extroverted twin. So I always knew that he was going to be the one that was more so in the forefront, so he would have more people around him and things of that nature. So I would have to be the eyes, I would have to be the supportive, person in that particular situation. In your case, can you speak to us about your strategy for support? You know what I'm saying? These things are not normally taught in our environments, right? To say, yo, that's your brother and treat him like such. You feel me? We just don't really have a lot of examples in society, even of blood brothers who are supportive to that degree. You know what I'm saying? So what is your strategy for support? And if you could give us a little background about, you know, how you met Keys and, you know what I'm saying, what your interactions are, you know what I mean? We'd appreciate that.
Cause I'm gonna tell you, Steve, when I first saw y'all together, I seen you like this. I said, oh, that's Keys' bodyguard. Hey, I'm just being real. I seen you on Square. I said, yeah. I said, that little dude gonna murder something about Keys. So, you know, that's... So, you know...
that wasn't even But now, with the Keys, I've been knowing Keys for since I was 12. So,
right.
And one thing that gravitated me toward Keys when I first met him, I grew up in a single parent home. I had 2 sisters, so you know how adolescent years, you know, sisters fussing and all that. I couldn't be in the house with that, so I go outside. Keys got 1 million brothers. I always wanted that brotherhood. I ain't got that at home, so that's how me and him connected, and we ended up bonding. You know, we had a rough start at adolescent years and running the streets and whatnot. Went to college. But Keys changed his life, you know, and started this mission that he on now. But he always had that mind frame, even when we was on the block back in the day. You know, he always was chopping up game, and you know, so for me to me being right here today as support for 19 Keys is because I believe in his vision. I know
that's powerful,
had
bro.
this vision since we was kids.
That's powerful.
So when people meet 19 Keys, they think I just met him. I'm like, man, I've been knowing him. He been like this. So I'm laid back around him. I know.
Come on,
that's
man.
why he's speaking so fluently. I know this how he been, and I know that he's really on this mission, and he showed results, and he put his family on. He even came and got me in a troubling time when I was facing a life sentence in jail. You know, that's real.
Wow.
I'm Lord, you gonna see me with the crown on every day.
Yes, sir.
You gonna make sure.
Yes, sir.
Bro. We're set to that. I had yeah. But for real though, it's like you gotta be support for your, especially when you seen your brother come from nothing and make something. And not just inspire me and help me, he helped the world.
Give him the air mattress story.
The what? Oh.
Give him the air mattress story.
Oh yeah, the air mattress story for real. Before I went to jail, I did a 3-year sentence where I got into a situation. I was facing life, but before I went in, me and Keys, we had a studio apartment in Oakland. Like a real studio apartment, smaller than this room.
Wow.
San Leandro. Yeah.
Wow. San Leandro, man. Know it well.
We were struggling to pay the rent. But every single day, Keys was at the desk working, typing. This was before the 19 Keys. He working though. He trying to write books and all of this. Man, I'm like, man, we gotta get outside and go pay the rent and, you know, figure it out. But he didn't let nothing that me or his other brothers was doing throw him off the vision.
Tunnel vision.
So when I went to jail and I came home, he was telling me all this in jail, like, yeah, it's like this. But I ain't know it was big like this, like he's like real mainstream.
Yeah.
But it just showed me that once you put hard work in it, then you put the hard work in and you execute,
right.
All this is supposed to happen. This ain't by accident or nothing. He worked for this. So I'm gonna do my part and help him maintain it all and keep it all going, you know, because I know that he real life wanted to do this and he brought it to fruition, and I believe in the vision.
When your birthday, Steve?
I'm a Leo. I'm a Jack of Heart. If you want to.
Jack of Heart. Yeah, that's. Hey, look.
I got a tattoo.
Hey, that's dope, bro. I'm so glad you said that. That's my transformation self card. Yeah. And so what the transformation self is, it shows us what we are, the sum of what we are supposed to become, you know, by the end of our lives. So when you look at at blue and red, they are the 6 of clubs in the card deck. So it just proves true of the science that the transformation self shows up in 2 ways, in energy and in people. So man, when I see the cards show up like this, it's just the truth. As Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, that the resurrection is a fact.
Facts.
Yes. Yes.
Giant.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, man, what I want to know is, and we had a conversation one time before when we had that group talk. We had just one question. We would go around a circle and we would ask everybody what was their red pill moment. You know, what was the moment that you say, hey man, this what I need to be doing. I'm a thought leader. I'm gonna take this and run with, because the way we never really seen that before. I mean, because we've been around this game for a minute. I mean, we saw a lot of stuff in this conscious community, but the way you took it and you made it cool. You made it, you killed poor righteous teachers. Ain't no such thing.
Ain't no such thing no more.
That's dead. You know what I'm saying?
Rich righteous teachers.
That's a new thing. Rich
righteous
teachers. So what was your red pill moment when you said, man, I'm going to take this social media, I'm going to take this knowledge, I'm going to put it all together, and I'm going to make a lane for myself?
I would say, I think it's been a journey rather than a moment, but I would definitely say when I was working for myself, right, I had my business after I fired product, and I was working in the store. I used to go there every single day, you know what I'm saying, and the students at Chabot College, it was this young black man group. They asked their program administrator if I can come in there and speak. I ain't never been hired to speak nowhere in my life, right? I used to go and speak at the protests. I still have videos just because I used to feel like got all these white people talking about black issues. You know what I'm saying? Where the gods at? You feel me? So I just felt offended that they talking about our issues, but it was none of us there. So I used to always go there, grab a mic anytime I was in the vicinity, and I'll speak. And then weeks after that, people would be coming by the shop, bro, I love what you said, blah, blah, blah. But I remember after I got asked to come to Chabot College, they paid me $500. And it wasn't until like 3 months later. So I'm like, 500, and it's gonna be 3 months later. So maybe around, a month and a half, I'm actually looking forward to this.
Right.
So, I start preparing and I started to develop a vision for it. Like, wait a minute. I know what the type of conversations that I had. Me and my brothers, what we talk about in the shop, things of that nature. And I swear I've always thought, like, we freestyle a lot in the car. I used to always think, like, somebody record this, upload this. I'm Lil Wayne, right? But in that same instance, I thought about the conversations that we have, like, our perspectives are different.
Right.
So I was like, when I go into that college, I'm not there to just teach the students. I'm there to teach the world. So I said, I'm going to take half what I got paid. So I gave Jonathan Short $250 to be my videographer for the day, right? And I said, I just need you to go there and record everything. I need multiple angles. I need this to be clean, right? Because to your point, I always looked at consciousness in a high regard, but I never seen the quality that caught up to the consciousness. So I said that it has to be redesigned. Like, what happens if you throw in these different elements and then you give it the world in this package? So I remember after we was done, right, I took my life lessons, everything that I was going through, and that's really always my journey, right? I always package my life lessons, stuff that I'm going through, stuff that I'm learning, and then give it to the world.
Wow.
So
you just gave me some
best lessons that I had at the time, everything that I knew, right? And I said, I'm going to go in there and I monologued for like an hour and I took questions, right? And then after that, I didn't think I did good. Right?
That's the perfection of the Ace of Spades.
I was like, dang, man, how was it? Right?
I
was like, oh, well, I'll just see the footage when I get it. So I finally get the footage back and he did it his design in his way. And I ain't like it. It was too commercial. Right? I said, nah, what we need is something different. Right? If I'm going to do it, it has to seem authentic. It has to be real. I want you to feel like you in the room. I don't want these big headline titles, all of this other stuff you trying to throw in there. That's commercializing it off the rip.
Okay.
But I was studying marketing before I even jumped in. I'm studying psychology. I'm studying. And so if you remember my early videos, I had the sonic marketing. Right? So I knew that every time I made a point, it may miss people, so I need to add a point in there that forces you to pay attention. Like I did say something right there. Right. Then I said, okay, the other real estate is the caption. If you didn't understand it, I applied with empathetic design into it and say, okay, let me make sure I break down everything and what I meant. So if I said one word, I'm going to get a definition here. I'm going to say exactly what I meant. So the whole entire post plus the title, right, was the content. So it can't be misunderstood, right? And so when I dropped the first one, it was out there. Wow. And I was like, it worked the exact way I had in mind. Wow. Right? And when something like that happens, man, you develop a new skill and you feel good about it, and it makes you want to do it again. So I said, okay, let's do this again, right? We add in the sonic marketing, the boom, right? Then we got the right caption so that people know how to contextualize, right, what the lesson is, right? One of the biggest ones was the family versus friends, friends versus associates, right? Or family versus relatives, right?
Relatives versus associates.
Right, and friends versus associates, right? So I made 2 separate videos because I basically took an hour and a half long and made probably 60 videos out of it, right? Because each minute I'm just crushing. But it was me understanding and training myself. And I remember Kevin Hart said something. He said, when you hot, it's easier to keep the fire lit than it is to relight the fire. Right?
Ooh, say that again.
I want to keep throwing stuff on the fire and keep this thing rolling. Wow. But at the same time, I want to build organically because I build a much more dense audience, right? I don't want to be giving credit for something that I'm not. I'd rather go ahead and what I call debit transaction. Like I'm taking care of it right now because you've seen me build. If you've been watching me for the last 17 years, you ain't got to give me credit and say, I'm going to give him credit that he a good person or he really about that. You've been watching me.
The work.
Can't hide it. It's been there.
Yeah.
People that just find you, they look at you and like, I don't know about Keith. You ain't even go back and do the homework. Right. See what I was doing before this for the last. I've been consistent the whole time. And I've been trying to, figure out what's the right thing to do. What's the best way to go about it. So I just look at myself as like a young black man figuring out life. And taking a growth mindset and innovating and looking at the things that I didn't see, things that I didn't learn and working to give that to the world. So I don't mind talking about me being imperfect because I think that's what makes it like valuable. Yes. Is that you get to see somebody, I'm just like you. Like if you take all the dynamics that would, the adverse childhood experiences, the traumas that a person can go through, I've been through all of them.
Yes. Wow.
Right? So it's not that I have some advantage you don't. It's that I didn't take those as disadvantages, right? I alchemized those. I used transmutation, right? And I had the right attitude, right? And so that attitude to me, I think is the most important because people go through the same thing, but 2 people with different attitudes see it differently.
Your attitude determines your altitude.
Absolutely. Yeah. So. My attitude throughout life has always been transmutation. It's always been that this thing is working for you, not against you. This thing is to make you better, not to destroy you. Right? So when I go through mistakes, when I do things that I feel like is against myself, I'm like, okay, well, this is the lesson you learn to become better. And I got a video talking about this. It's called Interview with a Futurist with Amechi. And talk about the fact that we destroy our leaders before they can lead. Wow. We destroy them in the process of becoming leaders before they become great. We destroy them in the process of learning lessons. Man, right?
Expound on that?
Yeah.
Every other culture, they get to fail before they become great. Woo. And when we fail, whether it's a startup, right, whether it's relationships, right, whatever it may be, we want to crucify you before you become Christ, right? And instead, you have to let a person go through their journey and development and see what they become. And that's when you have a community that is in support of developing that person. But when you have a community that is detrimental and toxic, they're going to destroy you when you make a mistake. Instead of saying, wait a minute, some of the best founders are the ones that have messed up startups because now they know what not to do.
Right.
Come on,
instead
man.
of somebody who's fresh. So I took a look at that and I said, the only way I'm ever going to get to a point of success and greatness is if I'm allowed to fail along the way.
Come on, man.
Right? And you only go, like, when you have great failures is because you're going for great accomplishments. Right? Like you never see somebody going for nothing fail greatly because there's nothing to fail at.
Right. So the bigger the goal, the bigger the fold.
The bigger the fold.
The bigger the goal, the bigger the fold.
That's the beauty in life. Is like allow people to fail greatly, right? So that they can become greater.
In different communities, that there's a concept, right, that they utilize that pretty much captures that ideology that you speak of. Is called failing forward, and they encourage it. Matter of fact, they tell you go out there and get 1,000 fails, then come back. You know what I'm saying? What is it about our community? You got one chance, my nigga, and then you rotisserie.
Right.
You feel me? Where they want you to be infallible. You can't make no mistakes.
It's a wrap.
Premise of perfection that we have been fed based on religion. What conditioning of our society has us buying into the false premise of perfection?
I don't know if it's religion because if I think about, prophets, they all had flaws.
They all went through it. Right.
You know what I'm saying? They all was able to go through their stages of being the sinner and do the shadow work, listen to God and fall and fail and rise again. I think it's the culture. Because, like I said, you go to Silicon Valley culture, they're having conversations about their failures. Yeah. Right? How much they lost, right? Oh, I just got this, I lost this, that, and the third, and they get back. When you talk about, we have a culture where you can identify your top 5 favorite rappers faster than your top 5 core values, right? So when you think about that, a great culture is built off its values.
Facts.
Right? What is the values of the culture itself? Our culture doesn't have any great values currently. Right? It's a death culture, it's a drug culture, it's a fast sex culture. We reward everything of toxic in our culture. We reward it with fame, money, influence, clout. So
attention. Right.
Right. So we don't have a culture that's built off, growth. Right? We don't have that particular type of culture. You have to build that culture around yourself. Right? Unless, right, you become successful. So success is the one thing that writes off your past, right? It's like, a rich man once said that people only remember your last success. Don't matter what you did.
Yes.
Right?
Whatever
they may
you
mock your process, but they love your results. Right? So we have a culture that said, well, if you get money, at least we don't care about what you did to get it.
Yeah.
Right? If you become successful after all the failures, that's fine.
Capitalism.
Sometimes we kill people before, we counsel them before they get to that pinnacle, like, I was actually just about to get there, but y'all stopped me in the process. Y'all crucified me before I could even get there. Now, the failure is not the only thing I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with the crucifixion of it, right? I'm dealing with everybody else. Like, the world has become a big high school. If you had an issue in high school, everybody go gossip around it, right? So now the anxiety is at 1,000 because not only is your problem, it's the anxiety of the problem and it's the opinions and perspectives. Same thing today.
The evil in my residential. It was all emojis, it was never mental. The silver spoon is under fire, and the pressure bent it.